Welcome to Circle Discussions topic number 1. Remember, your circle should only watch the discussion topics after you've watched all 5 of the circle orientation videos. Those are on our website, Domestic Worker Circles. Once you've done that, you can start watching a discussion topic at each of your meetings, starting with discussion topic number 1. Each discussion topic video has questions for you all to discuss, so you should plan on doing just one of the videos at each of your meetings. This session is about power. Understanding how power works can be key to making changes in our communities. The definition of power that we like to use is the ability to control or influence circumstances. Think about someone who has a lot of power. This can be someone you know personally or not. Think about answers to these 2 questions. How do they use their power, and how do they impact your life? Pause the video now and talk with each other about this for a few minutes. Share what you came up with each other. Make sure that everyone has a chance to talk, but only spend about 5 minutes on this conversation. When you're done, press play on the video again. Many of your answers might have pointed to a politician or a police officer who clearly have power in our communities. They can make decisions or use their power in ways that hurt us or those around us. Some of you may have referred to someone in your life who's actually really confident and powerful and who inspires you. The reason we wanted to talk to you about examples of power you see in your life is because we wanted to talk about at least 2 ways power is used. The first way power is used is called power over. The second way is what we call power with. We'll talk more about power with in a minute. Power over is when institutions, corporations, or small groups of people use their power for their own financial and political gain, often at the expense of everyone else's well-being. Earlier we said the definition of power is the ability to control or influence circumstances. In this case, institutions like the Department of Labor or corporations like Exxon or people like the President can wield their power to influence our circumstances. As domestic and care workers, many of whom are women, immigrants, and people of color, we are powerful people, but we don't have as much influence over society and institutions as people with wealth or privilege do. We often live in situations where people and institutions have power over us. There are 3 main systems that create the imbalances of power in our society and really affect us as domestic workers. Take a minute to think about who are domestic workers. The people who probably came to mind are women, immigrants, or people without regular work. It's no coincidence that the people who are domestic workers are also the people who don't have as much power in society. The systems that make that possible are capitalism, sexism, and racism. Capitalism is the economic system in the United States and in most parts of the world. It's the system that makes it possible for some work to be valued more than others, and for a small number of people to get very rich while most people remain poor. Under predatory capitalism, the workers who provide services or make products are often paid very little, while the bosses and owners of big companies get paid a lot. Capitalism also leads to classism, which is based on individual and social beliefs that claim people with wealth are superior to those with little or no wealth. Classism is also based on the false assumption those with more wealth naturally have more intelligence and talent. Sexism is the system that gives men and heterosexual people more authority and power over our culture, economy, and government. It leads to the individual and social beliefs that claim men are superior based on their strength, intellect, and character over women and gender non-conforming people. People who don't fall into socially constructed definitions of man or woman. Racism is the system that gives white people more authority and power over culture, society, economy, and government. It leads to individuals and social beliefs that claim white people are superior to other people based on their intellect and character. Domestic and care work has always been devalued because it is at the intersection of classism, racism, and sexism. Throughout history, women have often earned less money than men, even while doing the same jobs, and women of color have always earned less than white women. Care work, in all the forms it takes, is work that was traditionally done by women in the home, so it has often not been considered quote-unquote real work and has been undervalued and unpaid or underpaid. When the United States was founded, care work was done by enslaved African women whose labor and liberty was stolen from them, and also by indigenous women whose land had been colonized. Even when the work became paid, the pay has been much less in comparison to industries that are made up of mostly white men. We have probably all experienced what is called interpersonal classism, sexism, or racism, meaning one person treats another in a way that's demeaning based on their class, gender, sexuality, or race. But these systems really lead to imbalances in power when they're institutionalized. The words institutionalized classism, sexism, or racism mean the ways that our institutions like our laws, courts, banks, education, and policing systems are set up to maintain the power that a small group has over everyone else. There are a lot of examples of institutionalized classism, sexism, and racism, and how these create situations where rich and or white people have power over the working class, women, and people of color. We're going to ask you to do another go around and share one example that you know. Please only spend about 2 minutes or so doing this, and make sure everybody gets a turn. You can pause the video now and press play again when you're ready to continue. Here are some examples that we've thought of. Laws that keep wages low while giving rich people tax breaks. The law that counts corporations as individuals so that corporations can donate a lot of money to elections. The way that Congress can end public services like healthcare and Medicaid that benefit poor people. Or how they can vote to turn public sector institutions into private businesses so corporations can make money by opening private prisons or other services. The way that Black people are profiled and killed by police, and then the police are not held accountable. The way laws are passed that lead to the targeting and deportation of immigrants. And the way domestic and care workers have been denied many of the protections other workers have, just because many of the workers in our industry are women, people of color, and immigrants. All of these are examples of how institutions, controlled by small groups of people with privilege, create situations that benefit those small groups while destroying the well-being of everyone else. Power over is the kind of power that plays out in so many ways in our daily lives. And there's a lot we can talk about. You'll have a chance to discuss this at the end of the video. At the National Domestic Workers Alliance, we're trying to build a different kind of power. What we want to build is called power with, which means the ability of the majority of people on the planet to act together to create new systems that will respond to the needs of all. When we work for an end to classism, racism, and sexism, we do so in a way that models power with. Some examples are when domestic workers come together, we often share food, shelter, and other resources rather than competing with each other. Our movement is one that centers the leadership of workers, women, people of color, and immigrants in a way that shows all voices and experiences are important. We share leadership, just like you're doing right now in your circle, helping each of us see our own importance and value. We work for solutions that will benefit all of us, not just a few. We've shown that power with is possible, and it's a beautiful thing. When domestic workers won new rights in New York, California, and other states, it was only because thousands of people came together to work toward a vision of dignity and care. When we did that, we were joined by domestic worker employers who believed that care should be affordable and should include good wages for care workers. We were joined by allies from other sectors, faith leaders, youth, and many, many more people. Building power with means finding what we have in common and working toward a shared vision of something better for all of us. Now that you've watched this video together, we want you to discuss these questions. First, make sure that you have all the information you need by asking and answering this first question. Does anyone have any questions about what you just saw or heard? If so, please pause the video to discuss further. Then, once you've cleared up any questions, discuss the following. Have you ever felt the power that an institution has had over your life because of your class, race, gender, or sexuality? Describe the situation. What did it feel like? Have you ever felt power with other people? Describe that situation. What did that feel like? This concludes the end of discussion topic number 1, understanding power. Thank you for your presence, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.